What's going on, guys? My name is Frank Reynolds, and welcome to another episode of Is It Worth It, where I review books across all genres and let you know which are worth your time. As promised last week in our Game of Thrones and Song of Ice and Fire comparison review-ish video, we are doing a double header for this week and next week, focusing on Caroline Kepnes You series in preparation for the third novel in the world of Joe Goldberg. If you've read either of these novels or you've seen the hit Lifetime / Netflix series, you know exactly who I'm talking about here. Joe Goldberg, our crazy killer friend, is coming back for not only a third season of the hit TV show later this year, but also the third novel in the series, You Love Me, on April 6th. In preparation for that, we're hitting a review on You, the first book in the series, this week, and Hidden Bodies, the second novel in the series, next week. Let's talk about You a little bit today. You is such an intriguing concept for a novel. So often we get these psychological thrillers where we're put into the shoes of a character who might not be all there in the head. Their life is altered suddenly in one way or another, and they have to figure out how they're going to wrestle with their demons amid those changes. What's interesting about You is that Joe has always lived this way, and so the inciting incident in the first book is not exactly an incident so much as a new dilemma in a series of dilemmas. This results in a really fresh take on this genre. It's so rare to find that nowadays, but Joe's character is not only unique, but also developed in a way that helps us empathize with him in spite of the horrific things he's doing. And that can be extremely difficult to do as a writer, and Caroline Kepnes does it perfectly. In You, Joe, a bookstore worker, meets Beck, who, upon seeing her enter his shop, is the love of his life, and he is going to do everything and anything he can to be with her. Quite literally. Their brief introduction as she purchases a novel from him leads to a series of events that some might call disturbing, others might call humorous. I call it a blend of the two because it's so over the top and yet so realistic. You can't help but put yourself in the same situation and play the ultimate what-if game. In You, we really are faced with consistent, relatable situations that do paint that what-if picture. If I was dealing with a person who was inducing a certain amount of stress on my life, how might I react? And those fleeting moments of terrifying thoughts that quickly leave a sane person's mind are explored here, and it ends up snowballing and leading to some really crazy situations. Situations that are almost laugh out loud funny for how ridiculous they are, and yet at the same time, how realistic they could be if we as a society universally acted on those impulses. Joe Goldberg is the perfect anti-hero, let's put it that way. We forget he's evil so often throughout this story because of his charm, but also his rationalizing thoughts. He does things with an air of confidence and conviction that make us believe it's the right thing to do. One of the ways Kepnes is able to do this is by making the characters around Joe, the characters by society's moral standards, good guys, unlikable. The things that they do, though not lawfully wrong, are distasteful, and therefore we almost look to Joe to right their wrongs by doing the thing that we would not be able to do. These decisions, like I said, are constantly rationalized, and this is done in a first-person narrative where we get direct insight into Joe's mind. The humor is spot on. It's disturbing. It's real. It's completely unique. Kepnes' writing style is refined, it's witty, it's disturbing, it's everything you need in a relatable psychopath. And we get that here. His personality makes for some incredible dialogue and internalizing while that dialogue is taking place. The internal rationalizations, the deliberations, and hindsight explorations of that which has occurred is what sets this novel apart from others in the genre. I was completely in awe by Kepnes' ability to make Joe such a relatable character. It's so difficult to make an audience root for someone as sick and as twisted as Joe, but by the end of the book, that's exactly what you're doing. It almost makes you question yourself when you finish reading it, because you come back to reality and realize that everything that happened from a macro level is wrong. But when you're getting the hows and whys behind what he's doing, is it so wrong? That's the question of morality versus law-abiding citizen that we have to face, and that many of us do face on a daily basis on a much smaller scale, but we do face it nonetheless. When I think about it, there's not much wrong with this story. It's one of 3 to 5 thrillers I've read over the last decade that really stuck with me and gripped me, had me psyched to get back to reading it every time I was forced to put it down. While the television rendition of this, the Netflix series, which at the time of its release was a Lifetime series, doesn't give you the same insight in Joe's mind that Kepnes' writing style will, and that's one of the big reasons I would absolutely recommend the book. More on that in a minute. What the TV show does do is add a couple of sequences that make the story even better. A couple of things that I wish Kepnes would have explored a little bit more in detail. Joe as a mentor for younger children is one of these. The book doesn't really explore Joe as a positive influence for younger generations the same way the television show does, which I thought was a neat little wrinkle in his story. You know, we are constantly seeing Joe do these terrible things while not exactly caring about people of his age and generation, but he has a soft spot in his heart for younger generations, and that in turn leads him to not only giving them a break, but also serving as a kind of mentor. And I thought that was a really unique wrinkle that only added to him as a relatable character. If the book would have explored this in greater detail, it might have even been better, but again, not really something wrong with the book, just something in hindsight I wish might have been explored a little bit more. And if we're sticking with nitpicking, there are certain elements that are forced down our throats in the book. For instance, Joe's hate for talking to people at his work about these new books that are getting released, specifically like Stephen King books. That's one of the main themes in the novel. That's just referenced one too many times for me. The fact that Joe hates certain elements of his life is a bit overdone here, and I understand that that is essential to make his pursuit of Beth all the more important, but I wish we would have explored more of the ways that his life is a mess versus reiterating his hate for customer relations at the bookshop, for instance. There's things that are repeated on a consistent basis that I don't think we needed. For a character as witty and as smart as Joe, there's other things in his life we could have been exploring that would have made him even more relatable. So is You worth it? I've already said it. Yes, You is certainly worth it, especially for people that have watched the TV show and want to get a different perspective, or for people who are looking just to get into a new thriller series. This is one of the best out there. It really is. It's no secret why this was adapted for television. I'm not going to say that this book is another for fans of Gone Girl or The Girl in the Train, because that is one of the most overused tropes in thriller reviews, because this book is totally different from them. It's nothing like those books, which is refreshing. The authors that try to replicate the style of Paula Hawkins or Gillian Flynn, it's not the way to make your own name. And Caroline Kepnes has done that with the You series by giving us a fresh take on the genre, by doing something that I don't think's been done before, and if it has, it hasn't been done in a way that was very memorable. I love the character that Kepnes has created here in Joe Goldberg. He's dark, sick, twisted, funny. There's a blend of a whole bunch of personality traits going on here, and it makes for a hell of a ride. I'd highly recommend it. On the Worthy Meter, I gave the first book in the You series an 82 out of 100, so you can tell that this is one of the best in the thriller genre. Thanks again for joining me on this week's edition of Is It Worth It? Next week, we're taking a look at the sequel, Hidden Bodies, and we're seeing whether or not it lives up to the hype that the first book so plainly exhibited. Thanks a lot, guys. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so by clicking that subscribe button. And if you enjoyed the video here, click a like. I've also got tons of video reviews for movies, books, and comparisons on my YouTube page. So definitely check those out if you get a chance. Thanks a lot. Have a good day.